Hello everyone, this is James Shore with another test-driven JavaScript video. I'm recording this on October 4th, 2012, and we're picking up right where we left off in the last episode. And what we were doing is we have Testacular running. And Testacular is our client-side testing tool. And it's running against all these different browsers, which is just, I keep saying this, but I love the ability to do this from the command line. And now what we're going to try to do is instead of running it manually from the command line like this, what I want to do is have it be part of our Jake script. And last time we got our Jake script back working. We have everything linting again, and we fixed a conflict between our server test port and the Testacular port. So that's all working now. And now what I want to do is actually get Testacular to run directly out of our Jake file. So right here, we're going to run Testacular. And I think the way to do that is to, or at least, well, I was going to say the easiest way to do that would be to start out by just doing what they're doing when you run it from the command line. But actually, that may not be true. It might be better to try to see if the documentation says. Now, most tools, for whatever reason, don't provide good documentation on how to run them programmatically. They expect you to run them from the command line. But being able to run them programmatically gives us a lot more power. In particular, we'll be able to run in the debugger, and we have more configuration control and so forth. So I'm going to just quickly see if there's any documentation about running this programmatically. But then if there's not, we will just do it in this way. So back in a moment. Okay, I'm back. As I expected, there is no documentation about how to run Testacular programmatically, but it actually looks pretty clean. The command line, so here's the code that actually runs it, and CLI.process processes the command line arguments and then simply runs the appropriate command line, or the appropriate command. So I think we can do that ourselves pretty easily. The CLI.process returns a configuration object, which is more or less just this. So I think we can basically copy this over and configure it. Now we're going to get this set up and running, and then we'll clean it up. So let's go ahead and do that. To run it, let's see. So I think I'll start out by just saying, I'm just going to make the options nothing to start with. And then we'll try doing exactly this. Now, I don't know if this is going to work. We'll see. Oh, it worked. It just worked. Awesome. Oh, that's so cool. So it looks like, I mean, I'm guessing that all these options inside of testacular.conf, because we've got them at the defaults or something, I don't know, but it looks like it's pulling them. Is that really working? Huh. If we disconnect the browsers, somehow it knows. Somehow it just knows. And that's great. That's going to save us some real heartache. So yeah, let's go ahead and start this up again. And now if we just run Jake, oh, look at that. Look at that. It's working. So now from the command line, we can lint everything. We can test all of our server code. We can test all of our client code. One command. Boom. I love it. Love it. Okay, so let's prove that this works. We want to see the build fail if the test fails. Did the build fail? I don't think it did. And in fact, you know what? I'll bet you this is running asynchronously. So if it is running asynchronously, yeah, we'll see it say asynchronous here. So we need to actually fail the test if this fails. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the research for that off camera so as to save some time for you guys. Back in a moment. Okay, I'm back. You know, I don't think we can get this to run programmatically. I'm looking at the actual run function we're calling, and it's actually exiting the process when the socket's closed. Now, I haven't tried to really dive into this, but this doesn't look like it can be made to run programmatically. Now, the reason we want to run this stuff programmatically is twofold. First, it allows us to centralize all of our configuration. And second, we can run our debugger when we get to the point of really looking at how WebStorm works and configuring it, which we're not going to do until later. But when we get to that, we'll be able to do our debugging right in WebStorm and have everything work through the Jake file, which is handy. But for the client's code, that's not as important because you're debugging in the browser anyway, or if you're the debugging configuration for client for Testacular is going to be a little different anyway. So I think what we need to do here is rather than trying to run this programmatically, we need to just shell out and run our command, run it basically from the command line. So we've got this shell command that we wrote previously. Let's just do that. Let's shell out and run, well, basically whatever our Testacular script is, node modules, bin Testacular, run, and then what do we get out of that? And then the callback. Yeah, and I believe this is set up already so that it will fail. So that should actually just be complete. I believe this is set up to fail if the process returns a error code, which hopefully it does. So let's try it that way. Okay, promising. Looks like there's a bit of a defect in our shell code because that shouldn't be going ... like that. But first, let's just see if it fails properly when our tests fail. So inside of our Jake file, let's log what happens after the tests run. Yeah, there's that. And then what happens if we make the test fail. Perfect. Jake aborted. We're done. So back in our Jake file, I think we need to handle that a little more cleanly. I'm going to say process.onAir function and let's see, we'll have this log some sort of error message. Or rather fail with the error message. There. And let's see, I believe I put that in the wrong spot. Callback needs to be last. It doesn't have to be last, that's just the node convention. Perfect. Client test failed. Great. And now let's make them pass. Cool. Okay. I'm still not sure why we're getting this this ... stuff, or why it's not all running normally. That may just be a bug in the J8 create exec where we're having it print everything. I'm not sure. Don't think we need that. Maybe. Yeah, not sure quite what's going on there, but I'm not going to worry about it. We're getting the important stuff, so that's good. And then back up here, we can take out that after tests and just have this end with complete. There. Okay, so we've got Testacular running from our Jake script. That's just so cool. I love it. Love it. It's so powerful. I mean, any of you, if you've ever dealt with cross-browser stuff, I mean, maybe you do your testing in Chrome and you test everything against Chrome and it all works and you're happy and life is good. And then you go over to a different browser, one of the IEs typically, and everything dies. And then you have so much time and effort to fix it. It's really annoying. So actually being able to test against IE and IE9 and everything else every single time we build, so every couple of minutes, so we catch cross-browser issues right away, that is just so powerful, and it makes your life so much better. So much better. So because when you're actually working in the code, if you do something that breaks IE8, for example, then fixing it's not a big deal. But if you've got to come back to it 2 weeks later and then test it, oh, it's no good. So, and also we can do proper unit testing this way rather than having to use big end-to-end tests doing browser automation. It's a good thing. Okay, I'm going to stop raving about it. I love JS Test Driver. Testacular looks like it's going to be even better, and I love the power it gives us. So kudos to the folks who made this. This is just great stuff. So now let's clean up our code here. Oh, actually, let's check that in. And now let's clean this up. We'll, of course, come back to that and do more. Testacular configuration we'll worry about later. I think we're doing good here. That's done. So next, oh yeah, we need to set up our client-side linting. These things here are not what we actually want to have happen in our lint code. So that's what we're going to work on next. Looks like we're just about out of time on this episode. So next time we're going to set up our automated build so that it lints our client-side code differently than our server-side code to account for the special needs of client-side stuff. And then we'll make sure that every time we run our tests, that all of the browsers we care about are being tested. So that's next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you then.